Welcome to Sports Street with Richard Campbell. Today, this is a hockey only video as we have lots of topics to cover, and my guest is Luke Crombie to help us with that. Welcome, Luke.
Hi, Richard. How are
So,
you doing today?
not too bad. So, Luke, the Canucks COVID situation is really bad, isn't it? 25 confirmed cases so far, and it's for Brazilian variant too. I've never
Yeah,
seen
it's
that
the worst
before.
outbreak yet.
Mm. Now, the Canucks have also made some big news on the signing front as they just signed for Middlesex winger Tanner Pearson to a 3-year, 3.15 million contract. What are your thoughts on Tanner Pearson signing this contract?
Yeah, he could be great for the Canucks to try to push into a playoff spot at the end of the season here.
Mm. But I don't like how they show because they have Quinn Hughes and Pedersen looking for extensions this year, and they just give a Middlesex winner one, and they just gave the starting goalie one. Where is the money going to come from for Quinn Hughes and Elias Peterson?
Well, I'm not quite sure, but maybe in the off season a couple players could get offloaded, or in the expansion draft maybe as well.
That's what I'm thinking. I think they give away a player like Louis Eriksson or Antoine Roussel to Seattle for a first round pick and just start over.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's move a little bit west east to talk about the Calgary Flames. The Flames entered the off-season with some reasonable expectations. I didn't have quite high expectations as some other people. I don't know if you did too, but I
Yeah,
expected Calgary to be decent, and that's what they haven't been. Like they fired their coach, they bring in Daryl Sutter, who has changed the pace of the game for them, but it still hasn't helped us. There are 2-6-2 in the last 10 games. What needs to change? As they just brought in the supposed franchise starter in last offseason, which is what they thought they needed, but he hasn't been great either.
yeah, for sure. Their star players need to start producing, and if they can get reliable goaltending here at the end.
I think the Flames need to start like a little retooling. Get rid of Monahan, Gaudreau, Giordano, and continue building around Matthew Tkachuk and Monsieur Pawnee and Valimaki and players like that. As this Flames core is clearly not going to win them a cup anytime soon.
No, they're just getting older and for sure not going to win a cup with this team.
But with the picks they get from them, they can potentially win a cup.
Yeah, in the next couple years if they get a little rebuild going, for sure.
Now we see it all the time with teams that need a little retool to have a motor running. Like the Minnesota Wild a couple years ago, they were stuck in a rut and they need a little retool. And now look at it, we're surprising everyone being in the playoffs hunt.
Yeah, the Wild are great this year.
Mm.
Very, very good depth.
Now all they needed was a superstar winner, but
Yeah,
anyway.
Kaprizov is destroying.
Mm. Anyways, let's talk about the Humboldt Broncos. A couple of nights ago, it was the 3-year anniversary since the crash. I remember that day very well as, first of all, I never heard of Humboldt then, but I feel bad for the moms and dads because they just lost their son. So, more
Yeah, it's
thoughts.
a very, very sad day for them,
Mm.
but it was great to see the community coming together after that situation.
Mm. they announced that they were building a memorial at the crash site as well. If you didn't know that, as just to commemorate the occasion.
Yeah, it's supposed to be about 25 million to build the tribute center.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
well, these young players deserve it. So
Yeah, for sure.
let's go a little bit south to talk about Colorado, and I know this is your favorite subject to talk about. What can you tell me about Colorado in the last 17 games?
Well, they had a great streak going, and sure they got blown out the last game, but it was gonna happen eventually, and I figured it would be pretty big loss once it happened.
Weren't they like
But
12, 3, and 2 or something during this run?
yeah, they had a 16-game point streak going.
Mm. Like that, like we entered the season knowing Colorado was going to be a contender. None of us were stupid to doubt them. But this streak proves to me that as they started the season fine, they've done fine all season. But this streak has proven to me that they have what it takes to win the cup.
Yeah, because this year they've had quite a few injuries as well, and they're still first place. So
Mm. And they just acquired just today Patrick Nemeth from Detroit. He says he's not a superstar defenseman, but he can add quality depth like Ian Cole did the past couple of seasons until he was traded earlier this year. He can play that role pretty good. He's physical. He's pretty low key. What are your
with a
thoughts
very
on?
young very young defensive core that Colorado has, and Eric Johnson out for the rest of the year. It's a great pickup.
Mm. Now Detroit all fourth round pick in that deal, so it's such a pick. I hope it turns out well for Leishman. Anyways, let's talk about more of the most impressive players in the last 20 games. Adam Fox. He has had a point in the last 18 games. What are your thoughts on Adam Fox?
Yeah, the Rangers got on a hot streak, and he was a big part of it. Him and Zibanejad and Aaron.
Mm.
So great to see the young player do great.
Like he started the season off fine for Alonso Promo, but for past 18 games, he has proven he is a very worthy Norwich consideration for. He could win for Norwich ahead of Hedman if he keeps this up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think this year is for sure top 5 defenseman in the league.
Mm. I really like Udo's chances on making the playoffs too if Boston goes through a little losing streak as they struggled on offense Boston has.
Yeah, I think they could either catch up to Boston or Pittsburgh for that playoff spot.
Mm. Mm. Now let's talk about some injuries. Winnipeg lost their captain Blake Wheeler to concussion protocol. That's a big loss for Winnipeg. And did you see them replacing him with someone on the trade market?
I'm not sure because they're quite a ways ahead of the next team to catch up for a playoff spot, like Vancouver. So I think they might just wait this one out. But you never know; they could pick up someone.
Like I originally had him for Palmieri as a potential team for him, but now that he's gone and I'll get to that later in this video. I could see Winnipeg going after a smaller winner, or maybe they go to Nashville and try getting better offensive off of their hands too.
Yeah, yeah, I
Now,
see them going for a player from Anaheim as well.
I could see that too. Rickard Raquel, maybe Anaheim wants to develop Silverberg. One of those players would also be a big addition to them.
Yeah,
Montreal also lost one of their heart and soul players, Brandon Gallagher. That's an even bigger loss as unlike Winnipeg, who is locked in a playoff spot, Montreal could potentially miss it, and to lose one of their most important players is a pretty big step. Do you see them going after someone in the trade market too, or do you see them moving Corey Perry up or Lake Connon up or someone to replace his impact?
Well, that player makes 3.75 million cap hit, so with him on long-term IR for right now, he could definitely pick up someone to replace him because he's supposed to be out for at least 6 weeks here.
I could see him out until the playoffs, quite honestly. But I won't be surprised if Corey Perry replaces him as he plays a very similar type of game and he still has a little bit of offense in his game too.
Yeah, that's true.
Now let's talk about the Blue Jackets. They've had a rough season so far, haven't they? They were expected to be in the playoffs, but now they're on the outside looking in, and now their best defenseman has just fallen to injury for the rest of the year. Now they will be confirmed sellers, and we saw that tonight when Riley Nassar flipped to Toronto for a fourth round pick.
Yeah, I don't see Columbus making the playoffs here this year, so maybe they could think about a rebuild as well, offloading Laine or someone at the trade deadline.
Well, I doubt they trade Lonnie, at least this trade deadline, but I could see them moving Corpusalo and Nick Foligno, Boone Center, someone along those lines I can see.
Yeah, true.
And on waivers today, we've had three important players on waivers. Kyle Turris. Remember when he led Ottawa to the conference finals, part of that group?
Yeah, he was okay at Nashville's first year as well.
Like he was a very reliable first rounder, second tier centerman in the league until he went to Nashville. He signs in Edmonton. He struggles still too. Do you see him going to any NHL teams that will maybe want to take a chance with him?
I could see even Minnesota maybe going for him to get a nice depth of center there.
Then I could see Minnesota adding him for depth at center. And Montreal also put Bob Byron on waivers too, as that just gives them another added piece of the puzzle to add more cap in for a big addition at the trade deadline.
Yeah, they could pick up someone huge.
Hmm. And New Jersey put in Gusev, a standout KHL player on termination waiver, so now he can go anywhere. Where do you see Gusev going?
Honestly, I don't see him going to many cup of contenders because although he has experience, he's not the quickest anymore, and he could really get burned in the playoffs.
Well, I could see him go to Vegas, where he originally had the rights from there to play.
Yeah, that's true. Vegas they control the puck very well, so
Mm.
they can help them out.
He could help that bottom six, as Vegas doesn't have a lot of depth. Not as much as Colorado, at least, not as much as Tampa has. Maybe they
Yeah,
need more depth to reach that tier and be in the cup conversation.
yeah, maybe.
And let's talk about the Palmieri and say Saturate to Berlin as well. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good trade for both teams because one team acquired a great player for this year. The other one's focusing on the future.
Like New Jersey just wanted to say bye to them because you would don't get rid of them anyways, and I think they got the best deal possible for them.
Exactly.
It's sad to see Travis Zajac go anywhere but New Jersey, though. It's always sad when a long-time player leaves a franchise, to be honest. But I get it. He wants to win a cup, and New Jersey won't win a cup for the next 5, 10 years, anyways.
Yeah, and that first round pick could be a very good players because there's a couple of players that dropped low in the draft for next year.
Well, for this NHL draft, it is the most interesting draft I've ever seen, as this is legitimately like going to the casino and playing craps, as anything can happen. But first of all, pick could be the worst player ever, and a player selected in the seventh round could be Wayne Gretzky, as the scouting this year is Bill Menahem. Hell, for Oyso isn't even playing yet. We have no idea on the status of so many players, and that affects teams trading around first round picks too.
Yeah, it could be a crazy draft this year because, like you said, you never know what could happen.
And now for Florida Panthers traded away Brett Connolly for Borgstrom, Wiley Stillman to Chicago for two depth players. But what this move means for Florida is we get off Brett Connolly's contract. They have the money now to go after a big player. And who else to go after but Vince Dunn, as he can fill that hole that Aaron Ekblad had with his injury.
Yeah, they also received Lucas Wallmark, who's a pretty good player.
Like, that's one of the depth players I mentioned. He can add some more depth to that team. But I don't see Florida done in the trade market at all. I think they lose this cap space to good lose.
Yes, for sure, they could pick up a great player. Them trying to go for that cup run because, like you said, they're doing great this year, first place right now.
Mm. Now, let's talk about the St. Louis Blues. Cup champions 2 years ago. They go on a 6 game losing streak. Now, they just won tonight. So now they're on a 2 game winning streak after this 6 game losing streak. But what is wrong with St. Louis this year? As they should be a top contender, but for not even in the playoffs right now.
I think a big part is their goaltending is Binnington. The year they won the cup was their best player, and now he's just average.
He's not even average. He hasn't been good at all. I also think St. Louis is losing because this is Alex Pietrangalo's team. The players around him represent Alex Pietrangelo. But since Pietrangelo is gone, the team needs to move players around to make it O'Reilly's team, or Tarasenko's team, or hell even called it Pareko's team. And you need to lose the culture as that team isn't that team anymore.
Yeah, and Torrey Krug, I feel like he just doesn't really fit with St. Louis' playstyle this year.
That moves bothered me so much as why would St. Louis go after Krug when Pietrangelo was still available? You just used up your money to go with another player who isn't a captain.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that pickup when they did it, but
And how Pietrangelo's a better defenseman too. It's not like Krug is so much better because he's not.
yeah, I think they were trying to get some offensive abilities there, but it didn't really pay off because he's not producing too many goals this year.
And I just got word that Montreal Canadiens top prospect Cole Caulfield has just won the Hobie Baker for best college player. What what can you tell me about Cole Caulfield? I think he's a skilled small guy. He can add some offense to Montreal's lineup in the coming years and maybe make Montreal a top contender.
Yeah, Caulfield, I saw him play, and he's just great. I mean, his skating is so strong, and he could help Montreal huge in the next couple of years.
Mm. Like I could see him and Suzuki and add someone to that line like Josh Anderson being a top three line in a couple of years.
Yeah, yes.
And let's talk about one of the favorite goaltenders, the Bruins to Rask. I don't would that this is possibly Rask's last season. That's the feel around Boston. What are your thoughts on Rask potentially leaving Boston?
Well, I think it would be huge loss for Boston because although he doesn't play that much, when he does play, he gives them fighting chance to win every night, and losing that, they don't really have a starting goalie.
Well, I've heard that if they let Rask go, they'll be in on Darcy Kuemper in Arizona. But still, Rask is a top 5 goalie in the league. How can we just let him walk?
Yeah, I don't know, because he's done great for them in like the last 10 years, and they lose him, they'll either have to pick up a Greek goalie to cover up, or yeah.
He's been the best goalie since the 50s, Frank Grimsick. That's how good Rask has been. And despite him never winning a Stanley Cup, he's been the starting goalie twice for Boston when they went to the finals. You can't blame him for either one of those losses, can you?
No, I don't. You can't. He's been pretty good, and same with their backup. Halak's been pretty good for Boston too.
Halak's been one of the best backups in the league for years. Anyways, I can see Rask going to Edmonton. Just imagine that. Matt David playing in front of Tuukka Rask. If Edmonton does their hands on Rask, they are a top 5 cup contender.
Yeah, I think if they get a couple more players for depth and then a great goalie like Rask, they'll be a threat for every team in the playoffs.
Like right now, the Canadian division, it goes Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, Montreal in the playoffs right now. I see Winnipeg being on the same level as Toronto if Winnipeg acquires David Savard from Columbus. Edmonton can join those three if they go after Rask in the offseason. And who knows, maybe we see a Canadian team win the cup next year or this year.
Yeah, Canadians are players and carry them to the final.
Mm.
But if that next, you never know what can happen. It could be like the next 1 year.
Mm. Who are the top 5 cup contenders this year?
Currently, I think it's Tampa, Toronto, Colorado, Carolina, and Vegas.
That's exactly what I have too. Now, I have the Islanders and the Mets too, Boas. The Islanders went to the conference final last year and they just added the Paul Murray and Cesar too.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of injuries too, because they're one of those teams that can lose their goalie. I don't think there's really any chance of them winning the cup. As you've seen, like Colorado last year when they lost to Grubauer, they could have won that series against Dallas, but they lost.
And Grubauer has been interesting to me as I had my doubts entering the season about him, but he has been one of the best goalies in the league this year.
Yeah, he's been very steady for every game, except for the last one, but if he keeps producing like this, they're very good in the playoffs.
Well, I must let you go, Luke. Thank you for joining us tonight.
And no problem, Richard. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I'll be back soon.
Yeah. Bye. Thanks for joining us. So that was Luke Crombie. Thank you for joining us on Sports Street Podcast videos with Richard Campbell. Have a great day.